I said these kids never hear their story in a book. So when I was in grad school working on my first master's in early childhood, I learned this particular day that instead of doing I went to Bank Street College of Education, and Bank Street is a very progressive school that does not believe in tests at all. It's wonderful. You know, they believe you should read and write, which is my thing, and articulate what you know. They feel that whatever knowledge you learn or you gain, you should be able to express it and dialogue about it and write about it. So instead of having your traditional finals or you know, I don't even know what they call it in other colleges, when you're completing your master's degree, the final exam. No, you had to do a thesis. But you can do an original children's work for your thesis. And so this was included in my in my thesis. But I came out of grad school this particular day, and the voice literally came to me and said, I love my grandmother more than anything else in the world. And I said, oh, this is going to be a good story. I'll remember it. And then I said, no, Helen, don't be stupid. You know, I'm getting older, you forget. You forget what the first word was. And I said, right. And I'm into gadgets, so I didn't even have paper. You know, I had a little sharp organized. I thought I was all that with the gadgets and a little keyboard, folding keyboard, and everything folded up this small. So when it came to me, I said, Dad, I don't even have anything to write in the car. And I took napkins. And I literally wrote this entire book, except the last 2 pages. And I saw, when I realized it kept coming, I started numbering the napkins so I would know. So that was in 1996, okay? That's how long it took me to get this published. When I wrote it, since I was including it in my thesis, my advisor said, you have to, you know, research why story is important to children, why this story is important, and what does this story tell that other stories don't tell. So I researched in 96 every children's book on the market dealing with drugs and AIDS. And there were none. Well, I shouldn't say that. There was one called You Can Call Me Willie, and it was a little African-American girl whose mother died and gave her AIDS at birth. And so it was the struggle of the girl living with AIDS with her grandmother. So it was really a struggle of her physical survival. And there were a few stories of people with AIDS, gay, you know, my Uncle Tim has AIDS, and Uncle Tim was gay, he had a gay partner, and they had AIDS, it was that kind of story. So my advisor, so I had to do that. I had to tell why this story is different. I had to read it to 2 classes, and 4th grade. And so I went to Cleveland School, and Mr. Brown, some of you may know, he was a teacher. And he's now a principal of Dr. McLeod Elementary School. Thank you, praise. I'm so thankful to Dr. McLeod, who was my 6th grade principal. And one of the classes, I taught a lot of the kids when they were pre-K. So I knew some of their stories. And there was one little boy whose grandmother I'm very close with, whose mother is mentally ill, and the grandmother always raised him. And there was another boy I taught whose mother, father, grandmother, all his family were wiped out through drugs and or AIDS. And so after I read the story, the first child whose mother has mental problems said, wow, I like the fact that even though the mother has problems, she still spent time with her child. And the other boy who was living with his great-grandmother said, wow, that's like me. My mother's on drugs. My father's on drugs. And it wasn't like he was celebrating. It was like, wow, this is my story. So when I heard that, even in 96, I realized how powerful this was. You know, there are people in my life closer to me than some of my family in my life. So, you know, cherish the moments and follow your dreams and tell your stories, because our children need to hear them. They really need to hear them. Our children are disconnected from the story of race in America. They really are. They don't know, I'm telling you, I'm in schools every day. They don't know anything, and they don't want to know anything about the civil rights movement. They really don't. They don't know anything about the great civilizations in Africa. They don't know anything about world history. We're not doing a good job in public schools. I admit, we're not doing a good job. And we all, each one of us, whether we're in school, whether we have children of our own, whether we're in a community, we have a responsibility. You know, we're the stewards of the next generation, okay? And so on that note, thank you so much for coming.